Hello, everybody, and thank you again for joining us for this collective consciousness panel. Today we have Nick from Twitter and Kirsten Mustang of Twitter as well, and also of the Metaphysical Fat podcast, including Samantha Consciously, who should be joining us shortly. Today we're doing victim mentality, an important subject to do and talk about and to just integrate and dissect all the variables included in this topic, because it's so vital for us to be aware of victim mentality, of blaming and shaming of the self and others, because it will limit you and stunt your growth like you wouldn't believe. It is the number one blocker to any kind of ascension you might be trying to achieve. Because when you're in victim mentality, when you're in blaming and shaming, you are not upgrading yourself. You are throwing out that blaming energy as a wall that will stop all your progression, but the energy is not going to stop coming. So what's that going to cause? At the end of the day, eventually full on, possibly homicidal schizophrenia. And that might sound dramatic, but that's the energies we are dealing with today. So Kirsten was just telling us about some intuitive comings that she's been feeling just naturally, and intuitively Nick asked her, and that falls right into today's topic. So please enlighten us, Kirsten, to what you were saying about what you feel coming in.
I feel like things are going to get more intense, and I'm not, like people tend to think of that as, politics and all of that stuff. And undoubtedly that will get more intense too. But I think that what I'm seeing is really intense emotions starting to surface. And I'm seeing that in myself. And of course, if we've been navigating this path for a while, we're all accustomed to having really intense things come up. But I think that that's going to deepen for people who have already traversed a lot of that. And I think it's going to start coming up more and more in the collective, really people freaking out because things are shifting. And while there's a large majority of the population probably who hasn't quite figured out what's going on, I think as it starts to, hey, Sam, yay! Hey. I think as it starts to unfold, it's going to get way more intense. And yeah, and Sam and I were talking about this yesterday. So yeah, I really see a lot of intense emotions coming up for clearing. And in the collective, that's, I don't know what to call them, more unawakened, I guess. That is going to be really kind of shocking and difficult to deal with. Nick, you said that confirms something that you'd felt. So what?
I don't really get the direct feels like you do near as much, but it's something that I've noticed a great deal, that this is an era where responsibility and accountability are paramount. And people who are trying to live, like Diana said, through victim blaming, it comes down to not holding that responsibility, that your actions have consequences, both good and bad, and allowing somebody else to take control, good or bad, is not living your life. And I've noticed that people haven't been able to hide it in the last 6-8 months. It's like it's going to manifest whether you want it to or not. I've been dealing with a fair bit of that from my ex-wife. She just can't hide her hatred. She's not willing to take responsibility and just can't let anything go. And it has not been good for her health. It's like like you're saying, everything's being forced up. It's almost like, well, whether you're aware of it or not, you chose to be here. So have fun. Here's the energies. Do with them what you will.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to see that, and that's going to happen. And I'll tell you something that happened in my life personally. I had people in my life that I was really close to, and things went really wrong, and I got used and abused by the end of it. And I was stuck in a bit of the blaming, and this is years ago, but it was in a time when I should have known better. And my husband, who's usually not he can be surprisingly wise, and he was like, yeah, but you're so much better. This is actually your fault. And it just was like, I forget exactly the word, but it was a glass shattering moment. And you might find yourself with your ex-wife in the same position where you need to, and it's like, you don't want to be holier than thou and better than other people, but at a certain point, you need to recognize there's a big difference in our actual conscious awareness to where we should no longer, and this sounds really bad, but I don't mean it bad, where we should no longer speak to people like equals, not that we're better than, but that we understand more, we see more, we embody more, we are more because of it. And likewise, you now have to talk to that sleeper like they're a child, and that means no disrespect, because like a child means with love, with compassion, with understanding for their tantrum, with understanding for their ignorance, because they are but a child. And this is mentioned throughout cultures. Like, if you stay a sleeper, you stay immature and you stay unevolving, and that can seem disjointed to us until we separate off and see them as they are, like a child, and just deal with it accordingly. And it's not perfect, but it does certainly help the situation when you come at it from that higher lens. And this is why people can get, oh, you think you're better because you're enlightened. It's like, but actually when you're enlightening, are you not? It's like, if somebody was going to the gym and somebody wasn't, would you besmirch their muscles? No, they're going to the gym and you're not. So it's like the same thing. We are all awakening and doing the work and the integrations, and that can be excruciating sometimes. But when the work happens, so does deeper understanding, and that can play a part when we're dealing with others.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did hit on something really nice there with almost like that childlike mentality of, not my fault. Oh, why do you have that? But on the flip side of that is something that's been on my mind for quite a while, of how to explain this to people. If you go into it with dimensions, levels of consciousness, monadic knowledge, Gnostic traditions, and all of these things, you'll just watch the eyes glaze over. And I've been actually taking a lot of inspiration from my kids on this, because like my son was asking me, because I had mentioned the Mandela effect, which that's a wonderful rabbit hole. And my 11-year-old is asking me, okay, what is that? So I was explaining to him how timelines worked, and he got it. It's not that he's less intelligent, much like these people who are here, they want to be on this timeline, they just don't know. My son's just as intelligent as I am, but he doesn't have the knowledge and frame of reference. And so I think that's one area that we're going to have to work with, is not dumbing it down, but simplifying it. Like Mark Twain once said, my apologies for the length of this letter. If I'd had more time, it would be shorter. And we're working these things to where they can be understood by somebody with that lack of a reference frame. And when it's presented right, they won't feel threatened by their ignorance. And not ignorance is a bad thing, just legitimately not knowing. I think a lot of people hear this and go, whoa, that's too much, and just turn off. But you could put these storylines in a video game and everybody would understand it and love it.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there. Sorry, I am a bit late.
Please do.
I'm just going to apologise as well, because I've got massive hair today. So
the bigger the better.
I love
yeah,
that.
maybe it'll have its own opinion soon. Yeah, I just want to. Yeah,
don't apologize for the hair, Sam.
Send you some in the post, Nick. You can stick them on it. So, yeah, so just want to go back to that. You made a really good point. It's accessibility, isn't it, to the information, but we can't forget as well, it is still levels of consciousness. So your level of awareness isn't necessarily tied into your level of intelligence, and that's a really big differentiation. different, I can't remember what you say, you know what I mean?
Differentiation.
That's the one. My English teeth have gone on a walk. So yeah, that's the big thing that we need to kind of differentiate against, between even, you know, is it that they can understand what we're saying on an intellectual level, but they just don't get it on a soul level or a awakened level? And you're absolutely right about meeting people where they are, because we were all there at one point as well, and I think that's really important to kind of keep in mind. But I think the big important thing is language, which you touched on. So if we start going, oh, this is a soul monadic group and blah 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 blah, and we're here to do X, Y, and Z, and this is, you know, as above, so below, and the Hermetic principle, they're just going to go, what the hell are you on about? Which is why, you know, going back to our Jesus conversation yesterday, Jesus taught in parables, and I thought the parables are brilliant, especially as a child, because you can understand it. It's like metaphor, isn't it, really? And it's giving people a package of information. So we're not telling them what to think, but we're saying, hey, look at this. What do you think about it? Letting them go away, disseminate that information, integrate it on their own frame, you know, from their own personal frame of reference and from their own level of consciousness, and then use that in an embodied way, because there's no different where you are on the spectrum. You can read all the books in the world, but if you aren't embodying that wisdom, you've got no idea what it really means. You know, it's just words.
Yep.
That's true. And I really like that you brought the parables in, because I think a lot of what we can do is metaphorical, and look at the archetypes, because actually victim mentality is pushed into us from the very beginning with all of these archetypes that they show us in the media. And I was considering that a while back, because so this is going to predate y'all, but when I was a child, I used to watch this show called Starsky and Hutch, and it was like my favorite show. It was, you know, these really hot police officers with really tight jeans running around chasing people and saving all the damsels in distress, right? So I had occasion to see that a few years ago. I saw it a few years ago. I saw the show and I was like, oh my gosh, this is where it comes from. Because who is the most attractive person in all of these shows? It's the victim. It's like, and it's always like some beautiful woman, and she's being victimized by these terrible, terrible villains. And guess what happens to her? These gorgeous heroes run in their tight jeans and save her and fix her life, and everything's wonderful. So we're taught from a very early age that it's the victim that's attractive, that it's the victim that brings in the hero, when, you know, the truth is that usually victims, people who live in victim mentality, either bring in perpetrators or they see everyone as a perpetrator anyway. So either way, you know, they're always with perpetrators. So I think it's going back to that. And well, there is.
You know, you're not responsible for yourself if you're a victim.
Yeah.
Everybody else is responsible for what happens to you.
Exactly. And that, I just want to touch on that quickly. So nice segue into victim, perpetrator, savior mentality, because it's a big loop that we all get stuck in, isn't it? So we're a victim, and then there's the people that are just like, oh, I'm going to abandon my own like beliefs and everything else, and I'm going to run around, and my purpose in life is to save people, which is, it's ridiculous. You can't do that.
Tried it. Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah.
And then there's the perpetrators. But the perpetrators are actually the people that are the most realistic and honest, because they're just doing what they're doing. And I'm not saying perpetrators are great, but they serve a purpose. And you're very right. We bring them into our lives to show they're a mirror, aren't they, essentially? And while ever we're allowing that perpetrator to do what that perpetrator is doing, we're enabling them, you know, and we're waiting for a savior to come in. Like the Disney princess films, isn't it? You know, it is. It's like, it's endemic within everything that we're told. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's Disney on a on a plate, really.
Largely. And you see that they're, like you said, you see people liking to be that damsel in distress, to come have some fabulous prince save them. And, well, doesn't always work that way.
I will just say, though, I'm going to exempt myself from this rule when it comes to my car. I ain't got a clue. And there's been some very nice AA men that have come and saved me from the side of the road. But I wouldn't get a flat tire on
I'm with
purpose.
you on that. I have the same problem, and I have had some very nice heroes step in and help me with my car a few times, and other odd things that I can't do myself. So
it's
they're out there.
It's accepting the limitations that we've all got as well. So it's not going, I can do everything, I'm Wonder Woman, I can fly, I can, whatever. Because we can't, can we? It's being realistic.
Right.
Yeah, you're not Miss Marvel.
I know. No, I've been there. I've been there, and then I moved out to the woods by myself, and I was like, holy shit. I can't do this. What am I going to do?
Yep.
But you have 20 years.
I need a dude out here. What am I doing?
And really, we are forced into having to interact with people. I can't do everything. You can't. Nobody can. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can go live in a cabin in the woods and forage and farm and hunt, but you're also not helping anybody else. Nobody's helping you. You've just removed yourself from existence. And frankly, we're made to interact with each other, to be the victim, the victor, and everything in between.
Yeah, it's the flow of the universe. It's the flow, the in and the out, and everything has its time and place. Because I've been both. I've been the victim, and I've been the do it Wonder Woman, and because I have varied extremity. And it turns out like it's balance. It's giving, it's taking. It's being saved when it's actually past. Like if you're going to do what needs to get done, if you're going to push yourself past your boundaries of self, have somebody else do it, be appreciative, give them the thanks. But if you can get better and do it yourself in a place that's within your boundary, then do it. And this is where we again fall into sovereign discernment. Like, because there's things like when we first moved into this house, my husband's not a fix-it. He's a millennial. I grew up, my dad's very handy, and I was like, I'm going to do it, And I was doing it. It was like to the point where it was driving me mad. And I was like, let's just hire someone. And actually we've progressed, and now he's starting to do it. And I'm helping teach him how to do it because he's got the strength. Because it doesn't matter how much you know. If you're a girl, you're a girl. And the tools only work. Sometimes you just need strength, but sometimes you just need knowledge. And it's just been a growing back and forth of just feeling out what feels right to hand away, and what feels right to take that power within yourself and to do it. But if you're not open to the variables of, can I do this? Then you don't grow. And that's, I think, where it really comes down to.
Yeah, it's the growth aspect, isn't it? And like Nick was saying, you can go to a cabin in the woods, but essentially what you're doing is you're just stifling your ability to grow and your opportunities to level up. And I think you made a really good point about balance, because essentially when you're in a relationship or in any kind of community, which is what I'm going to go on to in a second, it has to be about teamwork, and it's knowing what you can do, what you should do, really, responsibly wise. So you're not overstretching yourself, but you're still taking on a fair amount of the burden or whatever needs to be done. And then saying, do you know what, realizing what you can't do and outsourcing that and asking somebody else to do it, because that isn't being a victim, that's empowering yourself to get done what needs to get done, and that's the difference.
Yeah, and I always tell people that it's like when you're asking for help, you're giving somebody the opportunity to give you a gift. Everybody likes giving a gift. Everybody likes getting a gift. And if you go through life thinking, I can do everything, or I'm helpless, that interaction never happens. You don't give the person the opportunity to do an act of kindness, whether it's teaching you or helping you or whatever. And that's actually hurting other people. And I think a lot of the folks I've worked construction and hard trades a lot of my life, and you'll meet some people who you can't teach anything. And you'll meet some people who literally know everything, and you'd never know it to talk with them. And like in those trades, you'll see somebody who will give the opportunity given the opportunity, will teach somebody more than they ever thought they could learn. And it's actually kind of funny to watch the old guys when it kicks on that, hey, this kid wants to learn and he's asking questions. They get the biggest damn grin on their face. Like, ooh, I can teach him. And it's fun to watch them just sparkle up like that. These like 65, 70-year-old welders who know every single trick in the book and are just looking for somebody who actually cares.
Yeah. Because that's part of it
Yeah,
as well,
that's
receiving,
true.
isn't it?
Mhm.
Yes. And I learned that recently. I finally asked for help from from my stepfather and his friend, who are both, you know, quite elderly. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have asked them. They're you know, they're elderly. They have all sorts of issues, but they were so happy and they felt so useful. And I realized, you know, I've been depriving them of feeling useful and feeling like they could help with something by not asking them to do more things. And so now I've been asking them, you know, I have this, you know, will you please winterize my pump house? Yes, indeed, we will. And it's been really, and it does, like you said, it gives them an opportunity. It makes them feel good too, because, you know, they feel, I realize both of them feel kind of useless in general in their lives these days. They're retired. They don't have a lot of stuff going
Hey,
on.
Raquel.
So it's like, there is that. Hey, Raquel.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it is kind of a beautiful thing because as somebody once said, it's like Christmas. Christmas is no fun if nobody's wanting to give a gift. And you know, to tie back to what you talked about, the victim mentality, it's all everybody else's fault. It's their fault they didn't get me a good enough gift. It's their fault they didn't get me a gift. It's their fault, their fault, their fault. It stops that exchange of the reason they're stopping is they don't want to exchange negative energy, but they're missing out on all that positive energy too. They're missing out on those gifts that would be given to them. And it's just that fear response of no. And frankly, it's sad. And because, like I said, I've been dealing that with my ex. And I'm not going into details and drama, but she so desperately wants everything to be everybody else's fault that she doesn't get the bad from them, but she never gets the good from them either. And it's been really sad to watch. I don't hate her. I don't wish her ill. I honestly feel sorry for her because she's missing out on life by not wanting to experience it. And it's sad, really.
It's true. And they turn themselves into a feast for
Yeah.
entities. This is just something I wanted to make the audience aware of. If you know anyone with victim mentality, or if you're in victim mentality yourself, because as you progress, there's stages. You don't just bam, you're out of it. You'll have to, this is why triggers are amazing, because you can catch. A trigger is you're about to go into victim mentality usually. You're starting to feel those bubbling emotions and you want to catch yourself. Because as Kirsten talked about earlier about emotions, we are getting deeper emotions. We are getting more emotions because emotions are energy, the increase of our abilities, of our magical abilities, of our psychicness, of all the things that are coming online, come through us in emotions and feelings. That is our power. So we need to get to that place of middle pillar stability where we can feel everything we're feeling, because you don't shut off like a robot. You don't at all. This is why monks go into the forest. And I would like to see them in regular life with 3 children and dealing with everything that life has, or whatever your situation is. A monk probably couldn't do it. This is why they had to segregate themselves into that situation so that they could embody such energy. And maybe that was important for the earth. So no besmirching to them. But the truth is as a human, you need to go through this bitty step by bitty step. But as you do, those entities that are feeding off your victim mentality, that are feeding you thoughts of this is their fault, and all the varied things that'll come, they will go away, because like a sucker fish on the side of the tank, if there's no algae in that tank, the sucker fish will die. And if there's no victim blaming, shaming energy swirling in your system, that loose source dries up for them. Now, what the entities of today are welcome to do is switch to love. It's a free will universe, and that's just their source of food. So it's no hate or blame to them either, but they are welcomed and invited to switch to a source of love. Just as we can switch to vegan, they can switch to love. That's an option they always have. But if they choose to die on you or whatever that is, that's up to them, because it's a free will universe for absolutely every single being in this universe. That's how this whole thing works. So when we limit our blaming, our shaming, and our victim mentality, we dry up their source, and eventually they'll either die or switch to love. And that is a part of this ascension. That is how we're going to get to a heaven on earth space where we see less of these people in our lives, because they will just simply change once they get on board that being in victim mentality is actually them keeping themselves prisoner. Never blame, even if somebody comes up and punches you in the face. I've used this example so many times. It's still your fault somehow. And you have to be able to find sovereign discernment to just, even if you can't understand the why of it, energetically, you just have to allow it. And when we can't think of why, we allow. And that is the key and the tip and the trick here to get through this, because it's not easy. This world was very chaotic, but it's up to us as the awakeners to bring it online in a pure and natural way. And that's just one step away, as far as we can go away from victim mentality into sovereign discernment, because they are two different streams that flow us higher. Like one is the low, one is the high, and you can choose.
Can I just say, I have a slight disagreement with that. But obviously we're all about that, aren't we? Discussing opinions. So my little niggle with that is, if somebody punches you in the face, they're an arsehole for punching you in the face, and you can still be a victim without being a victim in victim mentality. So yeah, on some level, we've agreed to this experience, but that doesn't negate the person.
Well, yeah, I believe in righteous anger. We can have righteous anger and we can defend ourselves. Agreed.
Yeah, because when you're going, I've done that somehow, you're actually victimizing yourself. And actually what you should be saying, that person's an absolute arsehole. Why have they just punched me in the face? But do you know what it's not saying? It's not taking it personally. I think that's what you're saying. So they punch in the face because of an issue with them. Yeah. So this is the thing with any relationship, like your wife, Nick, for instance, ex-wife, sorry, for instance. She's coming at you with all these issues, but it isn't about you. It's not about actually what you've done. It's about her. And that's the difference. It's the blame game. And I just want to circle back as well to why people feel a bit victimized. So I think it's a lack of gratitude. Because when you start doing a gratitude practice, everything that you get in your life, you're really grateful for everything, because you just switch the way that you basically rewired your brain to be like, oh, that's really interesting. So instead of going straight to the, oh my God, this person's just put me in the face. That is so horrible. I've got a bloody top and I'm gonna whatever. You start spiraling, don't you? You go, oh wow, this person's just punched me in the face. I wonder why they've done that. I wonder if maybe I've done something to provoke them. I mean, my nose hurts, but let's have a look deeper. What is it doing? I'm really grateful that they've given me this opportunity to look deeper, and that's just how you are.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown of how you should go through that process. Yeah, I didn't mean you should just passively let them punch you in the face.
I mean, if you can stop them punching you in the face, even better, because that's not good either, is it?
Yes.
Let's all have straight noses.
That's a good thing for the next day, where you ask yourself, am I actually the asshole?
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have called him a cunt, and they probably wouldn't have pushed me. Sorry, I wanted the C word. Yeah, I'm sorry, I swear.
You're British, it's
English
allowed.
punctuation. Still better than the Irish.
When I first started doing that to Kirsten, I used to feel a bit of an involuntary clench because I just used to jump the C word all the time, and then I'm like, we just say it. Yeah, it's quite a common thing over here. Not that I'm on Snapchat or anything. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's
well,
a
that's
constant
just
habit.
something I don't. Yeah. In the States, you don't hear that so much, and so when I first started hearing Sam say it all the time, I was like, "Oh, that's
not all the time. Let's not over-egg the pudding. Occasionally, and to be fair, if I call somebody a cunt, they genuinely really do deserve it.
No, it's true. It's true, and they do deserve it, and I'm glad you do it. Thank you for saying what we all thought.
It's my fault because I called them a cunt. But we both deserve it, then, don't we? Anyway, now I've ruined that. Go on.
Not ruined.
A lot of times people
It's the final topping
people
on
are
top
afraid
of
to
the
take
salad.
responsibility. Yeah.
Go on,
Because we're
Kirsten.
told that if it's your responsibility, then you're going to be in trouble if it goes wrong. You know, that's another way they get you, because you're like, oh, I don't want to be responsible. You know what? The boss walks into the break room, who did this? And everybody's like, not me. I didn't do anything. I'm innocent. And so the victim is always innocent, right? But the thing is, I think the thing that really helped me with taking responsibility is when you take responsibility, you're actually taking your freedom back. Because if you can say, well, this is down to me, I don't have to depend on this person or this person to make the world the way I want it to be. I can make the world the way I want it to be, because I'm taking responsibility for my life. And when you start doing that, it's a whole new way of living, because you're not waiting for somebody to rush in and fix things for you. You're fixing things yourself. And
Yeah.
you're looking at the things that you're doing. And maybe you can't fix it all overnight, but you can look at the steps that you can take, and you're actually doing something about it, rather than sitting there going, oh, woe is me. Please come save me, my prince. You know?
Yeah.
One of my absolute favorite stories. Sorry. The lag is
Go ahead.
real.
Yeah,
one of my absolute favorite
is.
stories was the guy that invented the modern helicopter as we know of it, Igor Sikorsky. I mean, his company's still around, so he did something right. When he was building his helicopters, he personally test flew everything and demonstrated it for people and did all the engineering and work on it. He had a team helping him build it, but everything he did, he personally did. He test flew them. He designed it. He was the one doing demonstration flights for customers. And one of my favorite stories was he took off vertically, backed it around the field, left, right, landed it, and the investors walked off happy without realizing it. He never actually flew forward. Kind of a minor thing, but he said, I'm not too worried. I'll get it figured out, or I'll just put the cockpit on the other side. But one of my favorite quotes from him was simply, if I am to accept credit for my successes, I must accept blame for my failures. One is worthless without the other.
Exactly. And also then, if something goes wrong, you can't blame anybody else but yourself.
Yep.
Pretty much.
That's true. And that's,
I mean, yeah, reverting into control freakism there, but yeah, I think you're right. It's really interesting, because I think that I want to just touch on what you were saying, Kirsten, about the sovereignty thing. It is true. It's all about empowerment, isn't it? Because if you're start blaming everybody, what you're not actually doing is saying, oh, do you know what? I've actually got control. I'm a sovereign being. So when I'm in this really, really horrible situation, again, I'm sorry, I'm using your ex-wife again as an example, Nick. So she's going, oh, yeah, she's like, Nick, you've done this and this has happened to me and I've been left in this situation. So if she was actually empowered to be going, do you know what? I'm in this sticky situation, but what am I going to do about it? You know? So it's the complaining thing as well, isn't it, with victims? Like, oh, I think we just like it. And I just want to touch on as well. Sorry, I am on a bit of a waffle now. So when we were talking about the entity attachments and things like that, they can only get a foothold because there's some kind of trauma or something there. And when you start to step into sovereignty, you start to look at these places where you've got trauma and unpick it. And then as you become more whole, you just naturally become more sovereign, because you're actually taking that responsibility, because you can't heal if you don't take responsibility, because the whole point of healing is to heal yourself. So if you're going to healers and you're going to doctors and you're going to, I'm not saying that they don't have a place, because they absolutely do. But if you're expecting somebody else to do all the work or give you a magic pill or whatever just to fix you, but then you're still doing all the same shit, basically, that you've always done, you know, you're never going to get any better, are you? And this is part of the, you know, it's perpetuating that loop.
It's true. And I always try to talk to people about that, because when I do when I do energy work on people, I get people who are like, oh, well, fix it. And I'm like, I can give you guidance and I can facilitate. A healer facilitates. They don't actually heal you. You actually heal you. I'm facilitating. I'm maybe giving you guidance on what you need to look at. I'm maybe giving you a nice whoosh of energy that'll help clear things out. But after I've cleared it out, you really need to take stock and figure out what's there and figure out the things that you're doing that are contributing to that. Because, and I always think it's really interesting. A teacher of mine once told me what you need to say to people who are healing is ask them, how does this illness or whatever it is you're trying to heal serve me? Because there's always some way that it's serving you, and maybe it's not serving you now, but there's always some underlying thing. Like you said, there's a trauma there. There's something there like, well, when I'm sick, my mom pays attention to me and she doesn't pay attention to me when I'm well. So therefore, now I'm an adult and I'm sick because I want someone to pay attention to me. And if you don't, until you realize that that's why you're sick, you're not going to be able to heal it, no matter what kind of pill they give you. You may be able to mask it, but you're never going to be healed.
Yeah.
And so it is. I mean, it's ultimately extremely important to step out of victim mentality if you want to heal anything in your life.
That was so spot on from both of you. Like I heard what you said, Sam, and wow, 100%. And then Kirsten, to your point, I was literally an example of that. My parents, who I've mentioned before, were like strict and mean. I love them very much and they love me, but they were mean and strict. The only time they were nice to me and let me be, because a projector needs to relax. The only time they were nice to me and let me chill out without calling me lazy and like be mean to me was when I was sick. And I was never faking it. But I spent a lot of my childhood at home sick, because I would just like the anxiety would build and I would turn it into sickness. And I brought that into adulthood. And around 25, like I was not doing well. Like I might not still be here if I hadn't changed my ways, and then I rooted back to that parental thing. My parents loved me. They were so sweet and nice to me. They took care of me. They doted on me. When I was sick and they accidentally, what's it called? Munchausen syndrome or what is it? Is that the one? They accidentally did that to me. But
yes.
Yeah, they didn't mean to. Just my mom used to be a healthcare aide and my dad is just like very know-it wise man, and they are very smart with healing. So like it just served them well. But it was a dynamic that a lot of children might experience, where you get that attention. I did that to my daughter with falling. When she used to fall when she was little, my oldest. Now I've learned with my youngest, when he falls, I'm like, get up. I'm nicer than that. But when my daughter was little and she'd fall, I'm like, like go pick her up. And now 8 years old, she'll trip and fall all the time. And it's like, sweetie, I love you. I'm sorry I did this to you when you were younger. Like I openly explain it. And I'm like, mommy's just dramatic. You don't need to fall. If you want to come and hug me and love me, just come and hug and love me. We don't need the show.
Yep. First kid's always the test kid though. So
Yeah, I tell her that. You were the practice child.
Yeah, really, aren't they? They all come out a bit extra special because of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I totally agree, because I see that as well because my kid's mom is very gentle parenting, which is basically, I don't want to discipline. And I'm kind of a chaotic mix between, hey, I won't ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, but I do expect you to do it. But I do ask you, like, don't run in the house. Why? Wham. That's why. And the funny part is, the youngest one, he's 6 now, and over at his mom's place, he is the little attention-seeking hellion. He will come up and like smack his brother or whatever. Over here, sweetest kid ever. I give them all attention. Nobody's left out. He doesn't act up. It's to the point the kids are like, yay, we're happy to be here because Brennan will be a lot nicer this week. It's like, he's just eating what's being fed to him. And I explain it to him, like, much like you did. You know, hey, this won't fly anywhere but your mom's place, and it shouldn't even go there. But yeah, he's getting that attention when he's dramatic. So
it's the boundary, isn't it?
Yeah.
That
over
ties
here,
into it as
he
well,
gets
doesn't it?
time. He gets daddy snuggles. We paint mechs together and cook together and bake and do things together. And so he doesn't act out. Well, I mean, any more than a 6-year-old does, because 6-year-old. But, we've all been there.
We have, yeah. A long time ago, but I quite enjoyed it. I'd recommend it on TripAdvisor. 5 stars being 6.
The outfits are adorable.
I did have a hit before I came on, I'm just letting you know. It was just to lubricate the pipe. I was absolutely failing. I was like, are we doing this? Is anybody coming on? I was like, I might put my pajamas on. And I was like, shit, I'm going to have to do something with my hair.
It looks good to me. I mean, the 80s is coming back, so.
No, I love your hair. Is that natural? We're getting off topic,
Yeah.
but is that a perm or is that real?
Yeah, it's not to just massive.
Yeah, see, I thought about perming my hair, so I love your hair. Like, that's amazing. I know perms can go really bad, but
your
you're
hair
the exact
too.
natural way. Yeah.
Do not perm your hair. Yeah. And Nick, don't even think about perming your hair.
Actually, the funny thing is my beard is curlier than your hair.
No, it's beautiful. Just the way it is.
My oldest daughter's hair is actually curlier than yours, Sam.
Oh, wow.
Like, she's 10 and she can only get one twist of a hairband on her hair. It's just like this massive curl.
Wow.
So if you want, I'll get you the conditioner recipe we use for the deep conditioner.
I'll be all over that. For my daughter as well, because my daughter's got massive hair. Honestly, she gets up in the morning and I don't know whose is bigger. Yeah, I mean, if there's ever any issues with like woodland, like wildlife, there's nowhere for them to go. We've got, somewhere to rent short term. I'm also after my foray in podcasting.
See, I was a teenager.
Yeah. You were Kirsten.
I was a teenager in the 80s, and I wanted your hair so bad. Although it was always cropped really short because I was a punk. But seriously, it's like
we just put a safe pin in it.
I have to braid mine to make it curly.
Same.
Really.
I'm sorry, Nick. We've really pulled you into this conversation, haven't we?
Here, I can pull us back on board if we want. Back to the.
All right, that's on there. Yeah. No, victim mentality. I'm not a victim because I like my hair. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for it. Yeah, I'm grateful for the hype. But can I just say as well, I want to ask everybody, and I'm sorry I'm taking over a little bit then because you're hosting, but I'm doing a little thing. I would like to know an example from all of you, if you've got one, not to put you on the spot, of where you've diffused and helped somebody with victim mentality. Diana, go.
When you first started, I was going to think, okay, well, best example is my sister because she's the one sister. The other one was never victim mentality. She was always superior. But this one was straight victim mentality, worse than me. Like she was, okay, so sorry, Jesse, if you're watching. But she was in love with a gay man for many, many years. And she used to literally abuse him because of it. And because they were best friends, so they had a dark dynamic. And
oh, no, you froze.
Oh, we've lost you.
You need to come back because I was really into this story.
Yeah.
It was like a soap opera.
Now.
It's like me and Kirsten laughing the other day. What did you say? Like, in the spiritual community. Oh, sorry, Diana, you're back. We're going to go.
Soap opera.
It's okay. It always happens when I'm talking.
Yeah, we were talking about the Starseed soap opera.
Nice.
No, go ahead, Diana.
Okay. So I don't know where I left off, but so she was I was just saying she was in love with this gay man. It wasn't about homophobia or anything like that. It's just that she simply was in love with him, and she was a teenager, but it lasted. They ended up going to university together and lived together, and you can imagine it was constant. And I would visit all the time because we're close, and he was amazing, and him and I we're still friends. They're still friends, so it went all right. And then it got to the point where I had her come live with me when she was done school and she had to go home to my mom and dad's. That was just not the environment for her because they don't put up with BS. My parents are very proper behavior people, right? And she's the one child. She's the one that used to beat me when I was a kid too, the one I've mentioned before. We're besties now, but so she went back home, and that behavior got volatile between her and especially my dad. She was even torturing my mom. Like, it was ridiculous. So I was like, and I was living with my other Sam at the time, my other Sam, my other sister at the time, who was my best friend then. That's why this mean sister hurts my soul. But so we were besties. We were living together, and Sam hated Jessie because of the beatings as children. And Sam was younger, so it's probably, I don't know, like, she got us all. But Sam refused. Sam was like, this isn't happening. And I kind of put my foot down. It was like a divine calling. I don't know why. But I was like, no, she's our sister. And I knew it was going to change my life forever. And it did. I was like, she's my sister. She's our sister. I'm not going to leave her high and dry. If I have to go live with her by myself, then that's what I have to do, even though I love you more, or not love more, but like, we get along better. It's like, but I can't leave her. I can't. So she came and lived with us, and she even thanks us today for what saved her life, because it got her far, because we were living far away. So it got her far away from this man, even though it was not his fault. But she was able to separate. I got her into therapy. And then she got to bring back teachings of CBD. No, that's cognitive behavioral, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy she got into. And it just grew from there. We worked together because I've always I was a born therapist. So even when I was in my darker periods, I've always been a therapist. It's like, I used to be Carl Jung in a past life. Everyone's got their past life. That was probably mine. Because like, the way I can therapize people and everything I've ever learned about therapy, I'm like, I already knew that. Like, so healing people on a discussionary basis and seeing their truth. Maybe I couldn't see my own truth, but I could see their truth. And we just worked, and it took years and years and years, because this was our early 20s, like my very fresh 20s, before I'd even gone that dark. Or even at all, really, except already being an emo. But it just continued, and it just grew, and she thanks me today for doing it. But I had to tell her to her face, it wasn't just being in love with this man. It was absolutely everything. This was just such a glaring example, because you cannot blame him for not loving you back. Like, you want to, definitely a born with it kind of thing. Like, this man, I knew him since he was a child, and it was obvious, you know what I mean? So it's like, you cannot blame this boy. This is not his fault. So it's just such a thing to be like, and even now she's like, that was ridiculous. And it was probably some kind of trauma bonding, because they were such close friends, and he just happened to be a boy, and you're going through your hormone years, but still. And it was absolutely everything was somebody else's fault. If I was, oh my God, I still have trauma today about being late, because if I was late, she would just be nuts, and she'd go off the wall, like full borderline personality. But we worked through it. It's like, you didn't need to be early, and we could have discussed this, and we could have talked about it. I mean, just recently when I went home for Easter, she still has some of her older tricks, and she's all like, starts to come to give me the what's what. I'm like, Jessie, you're not the only one that suffers from anxiety. And then she just she checked herself, and she was like, yeah, she calmed right back down, and she was good, because that's how it is now. Like, she's just come so far. Like, I always tell her all the time, I'm like, you get the most improved award for the family, because she went from being our darkest being in the family to the lightest being in the family. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even still be a family. She's the one that still makes sure we see each other on holidays. She's the one that reaches out to each of us individually, because me and my other sister don't talk anymore. And I talk to my dad very little. It's not that I don't love him, it's just is what it is. But she goes and visits him all the time. Like, she has become such a pinnacle for the family. It just showed what can happen if you're there for someone. So yeah, that's my story, and that's probably my best example.
I just want to pipe in there, and then we'll go to you, Nick, if that's all right. Sorry, I'm being bossy now, aren't I? Yeah, I just want to say, you really made a good point there about the darkness, and that she had to go through that. Essentially, that was her alchemical fire. That's forged her into the person that she is now, so that she could serve everybody else, and obviously serve your family.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
There's kind of an interesting theme that I've been noticing with a lot of these stories of people that have gone through that process of either victim mentality or trauma resolution. And I will answer the story with a story like you asked, Sam, but this is just something that occurred to me. It seems like most people have had to go through some era of their life where absolutely everybody, and above and beyond people from work and minor acquaintances, but everybody of any meaning is actually cut out of their life. And I'm kind of curious if that's a consistent phase that everybody goes through in their healing, because I know I did. It's just
I
like,
did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, me
if you're
too.
not if you're not important to my life,
Yeah.
you're not part of it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's impossible to be yourself if you can't be
I
yourself.
think
That's
that
what I
is.
learned. This right here, this collective consciousness, this embodiment of soul and spirit and this ascension is my entire everything. And if I'm annoying and if you don't want to hear it, then oh well, because I can't focus on anything else. I was just doing my astrology with the Chat GPT the other day, and it was like nothing but astrology except one thing about creative content. It wasn't creative something, doesn't matter. But I'm like, that still falls into it. I was like, this is ridiculously spiritual. Why did I ever waste a minute not being spiritual? So it just makes sense. If I'm going to have friends, they're going to be spiritual. And if I'm going to be married, he's going to be spiritual. If I'm going to have children, they're going to be spiritual. The dogs is better be spiritual. Like, that's how serious this is. Their names are Grace and Faith. Like, it's all spirit.
Yeah. Go on, Kirsten.
Yeah.
You're going to say something.
Oh no, I do think that's a phase. Everybody who I know who is on the spiritual path has gone through that phase of none of the people in my life are right for me. I need to find something else. And I know for me it was so extreme that I just completely bugged out. It's like I can't talk to any of y'all. I'm done. Bye-bye. I'm going to the woods.
I think,
but I just because it's all a matter of frequency, isn't it? Because when you are vibrating at a certain frequency and you raise your frequency, and the people around you have not raised their frequency, suddenly it's just like I don't know. I can't talk to these people anymore. I can't hang out with these people. I mean, the people I hung out with when I was younger. Now, if I even try to talk to any of them, it's ridiculous because they continued on that same path of drinking heavily and hanging out in bars and just being drugs and alcohol and craziness, and I'm just not there anymore. And it's really so I think it's just a natural thing, Nick. I think it's a natural thing that just happens.
You outgrow the lesson. Yeah. You either outgrow them or you don't. And that's the problem, isn't it? I think, like you said, when you're on this path, you have these ground shaking revelations of who you are. And it's like, I mean, I'm very scorpionic, so I'm really into I go really deep in the depths. I mean, I really go into the blackness and I really sit with it. And I actually quite enjoy it, actually, because I'm a bit sick like that. And then when you come out, you're forged in the fire, aren't you? And I have a little bit of a joke now because I am the person that literally, I'm a little bit gung-ho. I've got to kind of rein it in because I will take a flamethrower to my knife. Because the thing is, you value yourself so much that you will no longer put up with anything that isn't in alignment. And just going back to the healing thing that we were talking about earlier. So I'm in the process of really intense healing at the moment. And I've gone off my path like big style. And I'm dealing with quite a lot of issues that I'm healing at the moment. Which I'm doing really well with, actually. So the big one for me was chronic fatigue. And I mean, we've spoke about this, Diana, haven't we? And the generator energy. And what I've essentially had to do is let everything go that was draining me. Because anything that isn't in my creative alignment, that isn't feeding me, is essentially taking my energy away from me. And it's the same for everybody to greater or lesser degrees. And that's what it comes down to. It's putting yourself first, because that's how we help everybody else, by being more sovereign, boundaried. And when we say sovereign and boundaried, it isn't being nasty to people, because you can still tell people to fuck off in a nice way, in the nicest way possible. You can say that it's not really for me, and really in your head you're thinking, get the fuck away from me, I'm not interested in your bullshit, basically. But you prioritize yourself, essentially. But then that's showing them as well, that's giving them the gift, because like, hey, why didn't she want to see me? Or I wonder what's happened here. And that, going back into the story aspect, I had a really good friend when I was in my 20s. And she was a car crash. I mean, I was a car crash, but she was like extra special. I mean, I really was a car crash as well. So she just imagine that. She really shone on, she outshone me. And I would bail her out all the time. I'd give her money, I'd buy her shopping. I'd put her with the crap. I'd let her come and like kip on my couch. And we were both pregnant, and I had to just stop her coming over because she was just using me like a sponge. And then, you know, if I didn't give her any money, it was my fault that I'd not, you know, oh, well, I've not paid my gas bill. Well, it's tough shit. You should have paid your gas bill.
Mhm.
Stop spending your money on booze or whatever you was going to spend your money on. Pay your fucking gas bill. It's not my responsibility. And that was my harsh. And we don't speak now, but I'd like to think that she's gone on and learned that lesson. But either, it's not my responsibility, is it? And that's sometimes what you've got to do. You've got to be cruel to be kind.
Yeah, because otherwise you end up enabling, and then they keep that behavior going because, oh, Sam will always take care of me. But then all of a sudden, if Sam's not there anymore, you all of a sudden start to grow and find I mean, they could have found someone else, but they could have also found sovereign discernment in some kind of way that would have made them stronger.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
scared of that because it's really put the pen down. It's really liberating to me to work, make my own money, and control my own life. It's not like a control thing, but it's like it allows you to have that experience that we all dreamed of as a kid. Like, wow, when I'm a grown up, I can stay up till 2 a.m. and eat ice cream. And it's like, you know what? Yes, you can, and you deserve it. Because you're paying your own bills, you're buying your own ice cream, and nobody can tell you can't because you're a grown-up. You still can't open the bag that comes inside the box of Cheez-Its, but that's okay. Nobody can. And it's really liberating to be sovereign like that. I don't have somebody tell a public housing agency saying, well, you have to do this. I don't have somebody running my life saying you have to do that, a parole officer, you have to call this. No, I can do what I want to, as long as it's stuff I would take responsibility for.
Unless it's collect your own rainwater, apparently that's illegal. Sorry,
Depends where you are. Yeah.
I live in Missouri with pretty much nobody gives a crap as long as you're not burning the place down. Like last August, I was setting off leftover 4th of July fireworks, and the cop came by. He's like, hey, we got a burn ban. Please don't do that. It's like, oh, sorry. He's like, yeah, this is the website to check. Have a good night. Like, nobody cared.
Awesome. Yeah, same here. I'm actually next door to you, Nick, in state next door to you. And yeah, They don't care in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Especially Oklahoma.
Not a big deal.
You're selling it to me for when I decide to move to the US, yeah.
Well, yeah.
This is the information I need when I move over. Are they going to arrest me, or are they going to let me get away with it? That's what I need to know.
Missouri, nobody knows about Missouri, so the less you've heard about the state, the less they care.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Good to know.
Oklahoma is actually a pretty cool state. Everybody thinks of it as just flat, but eastern Oklahoma is gorgeous. And
you're by the Ozarks?
It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's where I live. I'm literally 5 miles from the Missouri border, and I'm literally,
okay.
I say the edge of the Ozarks because I really am at the very edge of the Ozarks. I'm on the very first foothill of the Ozarks.
The morning videos. The morning videos.
It's the other side of the Ozarks.
It's a range of mountains. They're not mountains like the Rocky Mountains or the mountains you all have up in Canada, but they're shorter mountains.
That's what I have here in Ontario.
I say
it's BC and Alberta that have the big ones.
The Pyramid Mountains.
Well, there, yeah. It's real similar.
For Sam's sake, more Dover, less York. So
cool. That's what I like.
I love it.
It's more just hills rather than angry rocks. So
yeah, it's more rolling hills, and it's beautiful though. It's a beautiful place. And you're right, eastern Oklahoma is beautiful. Western Oklahoma is pretty. It is just flat. is so
But it's the
flat that
Cowboys.
if you're driving, what?
But it's the
Yeah.
Cowboys
It's
in
so
all of
flat.
us segments.
Yeah. There are cowboys people
It's
actually
a
wear
bad thing.
cowboy
Get
hats
high
here,
before I
Sam.
come on these things. I'm sorry, Karen.
No, I think it's great. And if you ever do make it over here,
Yeah.
we're taking you to a rodeo. Get your
We
feet
are.
wet.
Would you actually? Oh my God! Seriously,
Nick,
I'm coming over in October to visit Kirsten. Yeah, sorry, Kirsten. I'm talking over you again.
That's
Give me a big
okay.
job.
We'll have a bonfire. All of you, all three of you should come and have a bonfire at my place. We
Sounds
can have a
fun.
bonfire, hang out.
Yeah,
Have a
let's
blast,
do it.
right?
We'll find some cowboys, we'll get some horses. It'll be a great time. Nick,
That's
bring your
right.
fireworks and your kids and your girlfriends, and Diana, bring your kids. I mean, I'm just inviting
That's
everybody to your house now, Kirsten. Yeah.
It's okay.
And we'll
I've
give
got
you the
space
experience
here.
of-
I've got 115 acres of woods, y'all. You can camp
Nice.
out. Sam's got the guest room already. I'm sorry, but
I mean,
you
it's
have a
hard to
couch.
bring
You can
camping
sit on the
equipment on a
couch,
plane, though,
camp
isn't it? Let's be honest. I'm not Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
When you're talking about America, there's believe me, we got you taken care of.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the edible shops. I'm not going to lie. That's the thing that's really drawing me.
Oh yeah, we have those too.
Canada gets the better stuff, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you're
Yeah,
next, Diana.
yeah.
Have you got a spare guest room?
We get legal stuff and we have tons of reserves. We have like I live not like everywhere in Canada necessarily, but I specifically live surrounded by all these reserves, and they're allowed selling whatever they want. So you could get to go and have like way cheaper stuff if you want, but just different. Like I love these Wonka vapes but now I can't find them and I'm so sad, but I was able to get them for a while because they're American. So Americans might be able to get them, but I can't find them now, but they're going good for like at least a year.
Maybe we can find them. I always go to the dispo in Missouri. Actually, I drive to Joplin, Missouri to go to the dispo here, and I'll take you there, Sam. We'll get you whatever you want.
I don't know. I mean, if you home though.
Yeah, I'm just going to come to America and get high. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, carry on.
Hey, the stuff like this is just as important as the big topics. I mean, you can't go through life miserable and always working.
Yeah,
exactly. If you can't eat ice cream at 2 a.m, you've just fucking missed the point of life, haven't you?
Exactly. You're not a grown-up. You're just an adult.
Mm-hmm. I went through a serious Haagen-Dazs addiction. When I quit alcohol, how I quit alcohol a million years ago was Haagen-Dazs. I would have a thing of the pralines and cream every single night. Like that became, and it actually hit like all the right endorphins in the brain, and it was great.
Diana, you've literally substituted drink for ice cream.
Yeah, you don't need rehab. You just need Haagen-Dazs.
Yeah, it's just changing one habit for another, isn't it?
It was. And then I had to get off that. And then I had to get off the next thing and the next thing. And I don't even know if I've actually ever gotten off. And because if I just keep
But you're not a victim about it, though, are you? That's the thing. You're taking full responsibility for it, so you're all right.
It's true. That's why I say I'm always like slightly Luciferian if I was something, because Lucifer is that make it better energy.
Diana the light bringer. She uses a spoon in the night to like shine a light on everybody's darkness. That's what she does.
Yeah, instead of the pitchfork, she's got a giant spoon.
She's not hiding in the fridge with a tub. She's literally shining a light on everybody's shadow. I see what you're doing there.
I do that to people. Every time I see someone I know doing something bad, I'm like, this is going to be negative energy. You're going to, and I'll like lay out the metaphysical reasons they're going to suffer for this.
Well, see, that's the best part, though. It's like you can say, this is why you should listen to me. I've got receipts. I've been there. I've done that. I've got the t-shirt and the extra maybe 2 or 3 pounds from the Haagen-Dazs. It's like, you should listen because I'm not somebody that's perfect.
Oh, yeah. And it was like 30 to 50 pounds. It was a lot. But yeah.
Listen, you skinny people, stop it. We're not talking about extra pounds.
Well, I had to stop eating for like a year.
Oh my God.
It was a brief period, but and then it's getting off food was harder. Getting off food was harder. Food is like
You know,
you have your
yeah.
instinct, you have your survival instincts are tied to it. You can argue away so many things, but food, like your body wants it. So it was the hardest thing to get off of. Not that I still don't go for chocolate and stuff, but like it's impossible. It's like I found it easier to just fully fast and then
Yeah.
and go that way than to try to eat. I eat healthy now, but it took like periods of fasting to break that sugar because it literally does. And plus ice cream, I have a whole episode on ice cream where I tried to be very creative, but I don't know. I don't know if it works, but I was that passionate about like the casomorphine that ice cream gets in your brain is the same as heroin. Like go take a shot of heroin. And then sugar does something similar. It touches the heroin place in the brain. Like we love that heroin place. This is why heroin's such a serious drug because it's like the
Yeah.
original, right? But there's
Also,
so many other things. Yeah.
the sugar also hits the alcohol one because if you eat enough sugar, your body metabolizes it to the same metabolites as alcohol. So your body's going, ooh.
Can I just say as well, yeah, that's the same if you've got gut diabetes. I'm high, I'm really sorry. That thing where you get, so that's the one.
Yeah.
It actually produces, because you've got like an excess of like yeast and candida and all sorts of crap going on in there, and that will literally turn it into a form of ethanol. Not to be a plan or anything.
No,
but,
I like that because I think I had that. I was all self-diagnosing because doctors suck and all they ever did when I went in for pain was just give me pills. So I've learned to like heal myself. And one of the things that rang true was things like leaky gut syndrome or I cannot say candida overgrowth. But like yeast in your stomach lining and in your intestines, like you can get that and it will call for the sugar. Parasites. I'm on a parasites will scream for the sugar. Like you have so many things in your body also screaming for the sugar. It's absolutely insane. All the many facets sugar comes to us as an addiction. Yet I've actually looked back in history and you can watch when sugar came into our lives because of Hawaii, like en masse, like it did. You watch how humanity increases its evolution, just like coffee and even cocaine has had its place advancing civilization. So it's interesting, like how these things can be bad, but it's like when you take something really powerful, sometimes it's like of one of these, and you're also holding something really dark to get the speed of it to happen. Even like the nuclear weapons caused us to speed up faster. Not that we should all go get sugar addictions, but it had its time and place.
I think just to add to that, I know you've gone on a bit of peace. Oh, go on, Kirsten. Go on, I've said too much. So.
I'm going to use my Aries energy to zap you off. No.
I'll use my Libra energy to let you. Go for it.
Yeah. So when I about 10 years ago, possibly had cancer. I don't know. I left the doctors and I was like, I'm going to heal this. The main thing that I did was stop eating sugar. And it was really hard, but it was just refined sugar. I still eat honey. I still eat fruit. And even if you can find whole cane sugar that has not been refined, that's not really actually bad for you. Of course, anything's bad for you if you eat like too much of it. But that was the thing. And I mean, refined sugar is really straight up poison. And I didn't realize that until I stopped eating it. And I had dreams about cake for over a month. Like I kept dreaming about cake and I was like, see, I know how addictive this is because that's just proof right there that was an addiction.
Yeah.
But once I got out of it, now every time I eat it, and I don't eat it very often, maybe once every few months, every time I eat it, I can feel it and I can tell what it does to my body and it deters me. And I go, oh yeah, I don't want to feel like that again. Not going to do that. So
honestly,
it's really
after a big like sugar spike, because kids' birthdays are fun, I actually feel worse after that than I do when I'll decide to have some drinks with friends or what have you. It's like sugar hits me harder than whiskey does as far as just crashing me for a few days afterward. And it's the most bizarre thing. But Debbie, before we got together, my lady, she was just kind of ate the typical American diet, you know, Dr. Peppers and all that stuff. And when we got together, she kind of just started eating like I do, where I really don't eat that much sugar. If I do, it'll be like, yeah, I'll bake cakes and stuff like that. But usually it's honey, unrefined sugar, molasses and stuff. Less of that, more, you know, less of the processed, more of that. After a while, she was like, I can't do soda anymore. It's too sweet. It's too much. And it's like, once you start backing off of it, it's like, God, this is just nasty.
And the inflammatory reaction is like instant. Like, it's like, I can't even move now.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And that's a good sign, like, when something's good for you. Because, like, when you eat it, if after like 10-15 minutes you feel like rubbish, not for you.
Yep.
Your body literally tells you what you should and shouldn't be eating. I'm on a bit of a journey about that now. But yeah, I mean, me and Kirsten's been talking about it. I just, the food groups I can actually consume now are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. I know we had a chat on the group chat, didn't we? And we were saying to Stephen, all I eat is practically like potatoes, rice, olives, dates, and tomatoes at the moment, and a bit of like greens, because I'm just like, I physically can't. It's like there's something in me that's just going, oh no.
Yeah, I think that's to do with the energy increasing too, because the bar just keeps being brought higher and higher on like the things that I have to cut out. Like every couple months, I'm like, I got to cut that out now too. Like it just keeps going and going until we're breatharians, probably.
I'd be happy for that though.
I really think that is, I think so. I do think so. And Sam and I have talked about this. I think that that's where we're going, to the point where we don't have to eat anymore. And I really think that eating is part of this inverse creation, because it involves stealing life force from other living things. And I don't think God really has to steal life force from other living things, because, you know, that's God stealing energy from God, right? So I feel like eventually we'll get to a point where we don't have to eat to sustain ourselves, because we have full access to that life energy all the time.
Yeah, and that ties into what we were saying earlier about entities feeding off us and how energy is a food source. But like we can be that kind of entity too, because a lot of the things we think about as angels and things like that, they eat us. They're always up there, because we even feed God. Like the whole creation of the all, because it's a back and a forth. Well, that back and the forth is the food, and the energy is what it is. But like we do that right now, what we're doing right now. That's why when it's in harmony, we're feeding each other. And like fill up your cup, like that whole thing. And why the Christ energy thing we're going to be doing tomorrow, Stephen and I, like with the ministry launching that, because that Christ energy I found is like a pure food source of like divine energy with a bliss and a joy linked in with it. That just fills up the soul. So 100%, like we are going to get to that place where we just take in a deep breath and the energy comes into us. And I like what you said about the food being some sort of perverted inversion, almost like it's like it was trying to directly show us the carnality of the way we're actually getting fed on by negative beings, eating our fear and amping that up so they get more of it. And then here we are growing cows and fattening them up. But the joke is so plants and everything are alive too. They've tested it. When you cut them and stuff, they scream. This is why you learn in like witchcraft to like ask them, and they'll kind of give it to you. And if I'm taking my herbs, I'll take the browning dying herbs if they're available or I'll ask them, I'll apologize, I'll water them right after and be like, are you okay? Like, you know, because they're getting hurt and they've tested that they scream like, hello, that's a sign right there.
Yeah. And I just want to say,
I've tried to tell people that so many times. I've tried to tell people that plants scream too. And I do the same thing. I ask permission. I always tell them, like, even if I have a piece of fruit, I tell it I'm grateful. And, you know, thank you for feeding me. And I can tell that the food feels better when you do that. I'm sorry, Sam, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I liked it. Good.
Yes.
All right.
I'm proud of you, Wilson. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I'm genuinely not being sarcastic either. I know I'm a dry fucker, but I was being serious. Yeah, going on to that feeding thing. What essentially it is with the entities. So this is the issue, you see, when you're on about, I wanted to mention this earlier, when you're on about the love, and they can choose to be love, they're cut off from source, which is love energy, essentially, which is what flows through all of us. And that's why the more healed we are, and the more we've got rid of our traumas, and the more open we are, the more connected we are to source, because we're in this low density, not lower and higher, we've talked about this before, but anyway, yeah, so we're in this density, and essentially the reason that humans are great, I go on about all this time, we're connected to God, we've got a good spark within us, and we're directly being fed from source, and the times when we need to feed on other people is when we reject our divinity through whatever method that we're doing to do that. And the amount of life force energy that's coming into us is becoming more and more diminished, which is then when entities come through us and they feed through us as well, because we can't even sustain the entities. So that feeds into psychic attacks. They use people as that Trojan horses, essentially, to gain access to other people's energy fields, because we're an empathic, connected, collective consciousness.
Oh, so I want to ask more, because you said that the other day, and I know what the Trojan horse is. Horse is. So you're saying when somebody's gotten so low, because I've seen people like this, like other people. I've seen people like this where they will low, and then they'll come around other people, and like, yeah, I could see what you're saying. I can't even find words, because that's interesting. And then they'll kind of, because you can absolutely, it's why you want to mind your friends. You can absolutely transfer entities, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you're metaphysically inclined, you can set up barriers. Say the most important thing is, I do not give you permission. Free will universe, everything needs your permission to really like feed on you for any amount of time, or anything at all. I do not give you permission. I cancel and nullify. If you accidentally say something wrong yourself, like, oh, that was icky, cancel and nullify, because anything negative you spew out, it's like inviting in negative entities to come into you. Everything is an energy exchange, and everything is a permission slip. So watch. This is why, like, I curate the self. It's I like that.
That's the thing. And if you look at it from a shamanic perspective as well, the more soul loss that you have, because every time you have a trauma or whatever, or even if you give yourself away, or you're not sovereign, it's a form of trauma, it's a form of self-betrayal. You're losing little pieces of yourself that do come back. The smaller they are, we're losing bits of ourselves, and it's coming back in all the time. But the big ones, that's when you have these holes that you need to fill as well, which the entity then hook into the hole, the space that the soul was. And that's where you can get things like addictions as well. So if you're feeling like you're empty, because you are, essentially, you've got a space where your soul was, and you're trying to fill it with something, what the entity will do is, they know it's a weakness, that's how they can get in. So they'll hook into the trauma or the hole, and then they want you to have these negative emotions, because that's what they're essentially feeding on as well. And the more negative emotions that you've got, the happier they are. So they're going to perpetuate cycles like alcohol addiction, food addiction, all these things that are going to bring you into that really lower base state. And then you're becoming more and more disconnected from God, or this love or light, because the whole point of healing is to become more cohesive. Like, I know Kirsten was thinking the same thing, because the more cohesive your biofield is, the more people can't get access to you, because you're sovereign, essentially. And that's how it all feeds into one another. Go on, Kirsten.
That's right.
That makes perfect sense.
So when you say, for instance, meet someone who has these entity attachments, and you have a cohesive field, it's not going to get in unless you open yourself up to it. And you can do that. And, I've made that mistake as an energy worker, where somebody said, well, you look at my field, and I opened myself up to look at their field. And the next thing I knew, I had entities coming after me. And I was like, oh, because
I won't do energy healing.
Opened up to it.
Scary. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, it's really, well, you learn how to deal with it. You learn how to, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I've had, I even had a friend send some little negative entities at me one time to try to get me back. Well, it's a long story, but basically, and I was just like, dude, bye-bye. We're not
Yeah.
doing this. You know, you get to the point where you're just like, because if you have that life force energy, if you have that God force energy, those things cannot really do much to you, especially when you become aware of them, because you're just like, no, bye-bye. We're not doing that.
Actually, the
not
funny
having
thing
that.
is there's
But
been
you do have
this
Oh, go
after
ahead,
the
Nick.
conversation we had in the chat this last week, where I was talking about trying that something I needed to get my fingers around. I realized it is an energy attachment.
Please
An
don't
energy
say that.
attachment.
I'm here. Do not say things like that. That's ridiculous. You're just opening yourself up to ridicule. Go on.
I realized it was
Sorry.
an entity attachment, but rather than trying to kick him off, I've basically been waterboarding him with love.
That's perfect.
I like it.
And
Yeah.
he can't
Perfect.
leave because he needs the energy. So I'm just grilling him and basically holding back his flow, giving him just like a little bit, and then be like, hey, you want to talk? And it's been actually very interesting because it's like he can't do much of anything unless I'm volunteering.
Are you saying you've got an entity attachment? Is that what you're telling us, Nick? You've got an entity that you're holding hostage?
Essentially,
Sometimes
yes.
there's streams that don't let us go, and it could be past life. Like if I wanted to, I could turn into a very tune into a very dark, homicidal, schizophrenic flow. That's just
like,
always, and it's all literally like I'm pointing exactly where I can feel it come in. There's something always trying, and I have darkness in the heritage, so I'm thinking it's ancestral. I'm thinking it's in my blood because I have dark ancestors on my mother's side, very dark, darkest of the dark, and my own grandfather. So it could be him, it could be who knows. And it's not just what he did. The whole darkness stream that comes in is just absolutely like if somebody cuts me up, murder them. Like, and it's serious, and it's not my own energy, and it'll have visceral pictures. And it's just one of those things that I think living on Earth, we're just always surrounded with these constant streams. So even if it's not attached to you, because I know what it's like to be attached to a negative entity and have it work through my thoughts and my emotions. And that's different. This is coming in like a, whoa, like, okay, buddy, just as the same as we can get really good things that come in and you can tell it's not you and it's a good stream. We actually have the same thing coming in from the darkness. And that's just what this polarity 3D universe will bring us. And that's why hopefully as we move more 5D, those darker voices will just not exist. And the key is not being filled with entities and being in a higher ascending way is the fact that I know that's not my voice. And it's clear as day, nothing to do with me.
Instead of listening to it like we used to, where it was attached, it's kind of like the difference between having a cat in the house and having it on your face. Like, you know it's around, but you kind of don't care because whatever. You know, it's like there's stuff that follows all of us around. There's entities that are always trying to find something, and at a certain point you're just like, whatever, go away.
Yeah. And you don't want to toxically positive ignore it. Sorry to cut you off, but like I lived where you're toxically positive, I'm perfect, I'm only light.
No.
That just bottles it up, and that's not healthy. But sorry,
it doesn't even bottle it up. It just causes it. You're dissociating. This is why you need to look at your darkness. I really wasn't kidding when I said that I really enjoy going into it. It's really therapeutic. Because if you don't look at all the bits I always liken it. I call it it's the monster in the basement, essentially. All your darkness, and it's screaming to be looked at, and it gets louder and louder and louder and louder. Until eventually you're put in a position where this monster escapes and all hell kind of breaks loose. Do you know what I mean? But just feeding back onto the entity thing. Yeah, there's entities everywhere. The lighter that you get and the more work that you do, the brighter you shine. And you're not just a beacon for good, what we call good, but I'm not even going to go into that. But what we perceive as good entities, ones that are going to work in alignment with us for things that we want to happen. You know, you're a beacon for the darkness as well, because they all are attracted to that light. And that's why when you're doing the work, you can't bypass, because yes, you might have levels up and you might have a bit of an awareness, because once you see, once you poke your head above that parapet, whether it's in esotericism, magic, spirituality, meditation, you are literally expanding your conscious awareness. And when you expand your conscious awareness and you're looking at the unseen, it fucking looks back at you. So you do the work, or you will have your ass handed to you, essentially. And we've all been there, we've all done it. Every single person I've spoken to on this path has had a trial by a fire in one form or another.
Oh, yeah.
And you level up pretty quickly, or you get absolutely inundated with entities. And going back to what Diana was saying, it's the difference between knowing something's outside of you and it's a voice that's coming into your head. And the more clairvoyant that you get, or clairaudient, and the more perceptive you get, you will see these. And you get to know what they are, and they have a certain frequency and a feel. And the ones that are actually using the voice within you are a bit more difficult to kind of discern. But when you're asleep, you get these thoughts in your head. You know, when you're not, I'm saying asleep, I don't really like using that term, but people that aren't kind of as consciously aware, they will get these thoughts in their head like, oh, you rubbish, you this, that, and the other. And it puts you in a negative thought spiral, which is then producing that loosh that Diana goes on about. Whereas when you're a bit more advanced and you've had a bit more practice, you can say, you know, me and Kirsten spoke about it, come in, oh, just kill yourself. No, don't be bloody stupid. That's a bit rude. Piss off. Do you know what I mean? And that's the difference. They've got no power over us. It's like, bugger off. I love you. I'm going to send you some, like you said, Nick. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Ah! Do you know what I mean? And then they go and bother someone else.
Yeah.
They really hate that when you send them real love. That's really what can throw, you know, because if you open up your heart and you say, I do love you, and you send them real love, and you know, I mean, it's not your love even, it's God's love. You send that to them. They're just like, no. They're like,
it's funny because the reaction they give is like, you know, it's like they'll show up and it's like, hey, thanks for what you do. You're trying to feed your family in essence. It's not for a purpose I agree with, so I'm not going to support it. But what you're doing, I appreciate. There is good to that. You are doing a good thing. It's just for the wrong reason.
Or you're just doing it. You deserve your life or your existence because you're still part of the tapestry that we're all weaving together. And without you, we wouldn't have it. And that's essentially saying, I recognise you and I love you for your purpose. But your purpose isn't going to be around me.
Exactly. It's like, thanks for accelerating everything I did. You know, thanks for helping me speed run this existence. Now, bye.
I like that. That should be a motto. Thank you for your existence, but it won't be part of mine.
Love it.
I like that.
We need, you know what we need to do, Diana? We need to get a merchandise shop. That's what we need.
Yes. Yeah.
Come on, Dexter. I'll give you some energy and we'll get this going.
I need a new coffee cup.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, we'll make mugs and say thank you for your existence, but it won't be part of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh. Well, unfortunately, I do need to go get some dinner started.
Okay.
Apparently, so do I.
I think it's a good time to leave it there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, with that one. Yes. Oh my God, it's already been an hour and a half. Yeah. Wow, that's how you know we had a good time.
Yeah. We did. It was great.
Thank you for being part of my existence. I am very glad you're in it.
Yes.
Likewise. Very much.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today during the energies, especially. And thank you, audience, for tuning in and being a part of this journey as we create reality together.
We do, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, we do. We love you all. Yay.
Bye for now.
Love you guys. Bye for now.